You beat cancer, stage 4 cancer, with more or less metabolic therapy approaches.
You can beat it. It's part of what you eat. What you're doing is you're trying to reduce your amount of carbs, reduce the amount of sugar in your body, because that's what feeds cancer. By doing that, plus the fasting, and then doing the high impact exercise. And that is the big thing, getting your heart rate up.
Why is that the big thing?
Because when you do that, it's what it's doing. It's burning up the sugar, right?
Okay, so that's fascinating, because what that means is you're basically removing all of the availability of sugar from the body, so the cancer cells could not feed off of anything for those days.
That's correct.
What is really alarming oncologists is this sharp rise in cancer incidence among young people.
What's up, you guys? Today, I have on a stage 4 cancer survivor who literally reversed her cancer through metabolic therapy. And you might have heard of Dr. or Professor Seyfried. He is the leading cancer researcher in the country who is basically making waves out there by letting the world know that we can manage or reverse cancer with metabolic therapy. And Ronnie, who is my guest today, is the person who did exactly that. Ronnie not only has reversed her cancer that was stage 4, you're not supposed to be able to reverse that, but she's also now helping dozens of other cancer patients reverse theirs as well. So we get into exactly how she's doing this, how it works, why this makes sense, and what you can do. Let's get into it. Ronnie, I'm super excited to have you on. We were just talking a little bit before this, and you beat cancer, stage 4 cancer, with more or less metabolic therapy approaches, but it sounded like you didn't really know you were doing that at the time.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, but you spoke with Dr. Seyfried about this, and he's leading cancer researcher. He pretty much said that that's exactly what you did.
Yes, and actually, one of his things when I was on the interview with him, he said, Ronnie, you can beat it. It's part of what you eat, and exercise and fasting. But exercise as a big thing with getting better and fighting cancer. Even if, depending on where you are and what you've done in your life, depends on how well and how much exercise you can do. I had always exercised, always trained for marathons or triathlons or whatever. So when I was better and getting, better and better, I was able to get more into the way I used to be. And I think that helped me a great deal with fighting cancer.
Yeah, this is so important to talk about because we know there are millions of people out there struggling with cancer. I think all of us at least know somebody who has struggled with it. Like for me, my high school sweetheart, we dated for like 5 years, but it was crazy because, like 5 weeks after we started dating, his mom, kind of similar to you actually, from your story, she got into a bike accident, very active person, very fit. She went to the doctor. She had a pain in her elbow, and they did all these tests, and they found that she had stage 4 cancer across her body, and she ended up passing away 6 weeks later. It was insane. And so to me, I witnessed what cancer treatments can do to somebody too. And I personally think that it was possibly the chemo that might have taken her out much faster, if not even more aggressively than the cancer was, because she was unaware of the cancer in her body. Would you say you were similar?
I was. Actually, when I got diagnosed, I had no idea, no symptoms at all. And I have an identical twin, and she had breast cancer. And that's the only reason why I had gone in and got all the tests done. Had I have not gotten the tests, or had she have not gotten cancer, I wouldn't have got them. And it probably could have been a totally different story. I was one of those that went, and when I went, it was stage 4 already, and I had 0 symptoms. And then, even after they did surgery, 3 weeks after, I went for a CAT scan, and now it had spread to, several organs in my body. So now it was in my colon, my lymph nodes, my liver, my lungs, and my diagnosis was 6 months. So, and it's pretty scary because I did not see that coming. Like, I remember when they told me, I was like, what, how can this be? Because I felt fine. But I wasn't. So that's one of those things. And I think that's what surprises people, that you can look good or feel good, but it's growing inside you and you don't know about it. Some people do get they know something's wrong. But with me, I was like your friend's mother, that I had no idea.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that's something that comes from years and years of chronic, we're finding that it comes from chronic inflammation, potentially, and other things too. Of course, there's so many things in our environment, but I think let's talk about the solution that some people could walk away with from this, because that's the part that I really want to offer, is like a different take on this, is what you did, without really knowing that you were doing it in the moment, but it was very effective for you. So I'm going to kind of summarize what I understand and then tell me where I'm maybe wrong with it or what I'm missing. Sounds like, so you got diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, and then you proceeded to, because you're a very active person, go and work out a ton. Like you maintained that ability to work out in like at a very high level. I think you burned like 2,500, calories a day, but you also fasted quite a bit. So the combination of the two was really a hyper emphasis. Now, I know you weren't carnivore at the time. Mediterranean diet was more of your approach, but when one works out so much and burns so much glycogen, they can actually get into more of a ketosis like state. Plus the fasting obviously helps quite a bit. So is that generally what you did during that time when you were diagnosed?
Yeah. So what I did is I fasted. So I had chemo for 3 days, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, every other week. So for those 3 days, I would fast. And on those 3 days, I didn't do my exercise wasn't, I walked, I did stairs. I didn't do as much as I did on the following week. So every other week, when it wasn't a chemo week, that's when I was able to do more of the exercising. But yes, I did fast. I fasted I would quit eating on the Tuesday before chemo. Chemo was Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So I wouldn't eat until Friday evening after my last treatment.
Okay. And then what kind of workouts were you doing? And also, like, how were you doing that?
So when I had chemo, I had a take-home bottle that was like a fanny pack. So on those days, I would usually just walk because it was hooked up to my port. So I would usually walk, and or I'd go to the arena and just do stairs. Just, have your pack tucked in my shirt, and I would just run up and down the stairs. And then stairs. I would start feeling, I would be really sick usually on the weekend, but I still would try to walk 5-6K every day. Even if when I was sick, I would just get outside just to get out for fresh air. And I would just do a walk if I wasn't feeling well. And then the following week, I would start getting better on the Monday, and then Tuesday, and I would just start back to exercising. And each day I was able to do a little bit more. And when I started feeling better, I would just increase the exercise that I did.
Got it. Okay. So when you spoke with Dr. Seyfried or Professor Seyfried, was he under the was he convinced, I guess, that you had reversed cancer with a metabolic kind of approach to this? Meaning like you helped heal the mitochondria, or what did he say about it?
Yeah, he felt that what I was doing, that the fasting, right, and then the Mediterranean diet, because now it's the keto diet, but you're still what you're doing is you're trying to reduce your amount of carbs, reduce the amount of sugar in your body, because that's what feeds cancer. So whether it's Mediterranean or keto, that's what you're trying to do, minimize your carbs. And so by doing that, plus the fasting, and then doing the high impact exercise, or and his thing was exercise in general, just doing anything was able to put you into that metabolic state so that you could fight cancer.
Okay. And so when you said you were working out, like when you were doing treatment, you wouldn't work out very hard on those days. It was more like the off days.
Yeah. I would usually work out from, usually go from Monday to Monday. So it would be like 7 days, because on Tuesday I would go for my blood work, and that's when they would open my port. So once they opened my port, it was a little bit harder to do any running or anything like that. So when on those days, I did a lot more walking, or I would go do stairs, which would get my heart rate up. And that is the big thing, getting your heart rate up. And that's what I would do on those days.
Why is that the big thing for this particular topic?
Because when you do that, it's what it's doing. It's burning up the sugar, right? Any carbs or anything like that. So when you get your heart rate up, it's going to burn more calories, and it's going to put you into that ketosis state.
Okay. So yeah, the prolonged fasting, what did you do? Like 18 hours, 16 hours?
I did 3 days. So I would go Tuesday night to Friday around 3 or 4.
Oh, okay. That makes more sense. Okay. Yep. So, cause I was under the impression it was more intermittent fasting. I guess I hadn't remembered that, but you were doing prolonged fasting. Is that every week that you were doing that?
Every other week. So when I was on chemo, I would fast.
Wow. Okay. So that's fascinating, because what that means is you're basically removing all of the availability of sugar from the body. So the cancer cells could not feed off of anything for those days.
That's correct. Yeah.
Plus you were doing chemo, plus you were working out even slightly. And then your diet was really dialed in to reduce the number of carbs, right?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. So how many carbs would you say you were eating? Like, were you measuring it, or how were you measuring?
Nope. I was actually still trying to minimize them to, the only, I guess would be in my fruits and vegetables, because I really tried to eliminate anything that was starchy, your pastas, your breads. They were, bare minimum. I did more vegetables and lean meats fruits, vegetables, and lean meats. And my fruits were mostly berries, and that's because they were antioxidants. And I did mostly things that were cancer fighting, fruits and vegetables, because that's what I was focused on. I was focused on eating whatever I could that was going to fight this cancer that was in my body.
Right. Yeah. So, and then what's fascinating, I think, is like a lot of people might hear that and say, well, okay, she wasn't carnivore. She wasn't full, whatever meat-based, let's say, but you were doing so much exercise, like that often, and fasting that often. About how many calories were you burning, when you were working out? Cause I know you bike and run and all that.
It would depend, probably 2,000,
just working out,
the average.
That's a lot. How many hours did you work out a day?
Well, probably, it depended on what I did, but it's like I do now. I do 2 hours every day still.
How much you're burning? 2,000 calories in those 2 hours?
2,000 is what my daily calorie would be. That's what I would use in a day. Okay,
so yeah, so that's fascinating. So when you spoke with Professor Seyfried, he was he probably went into what his research is now, which for anybody who doesn't know, that's basically, you're, rather than just trying to use all of these medications, let's say, to kill cancer and like find the cancer cells, and then it also kills good cells. Instead, it's rather trying to approach this from more of a like inside out way. So we're trying to heal the mitochondria of our cells. And what often happens is like the inflammation that happens in our body that, we get from eating a lot of seed oils or processed foods, or who knows what, it could be a million different things, causes the mitochondria to be dysfunctional. And then that is going to essentially result in our body creating cancerous like cells. And those cancer cells feed off of the sugar that comes into the body. And there's a lot of other things too, but he kind of goes into oxidation. And did he mention any of that kind of stuff?
Pardon?
Did he mention anything about oxidation to you?
He did, but in it, yeah, but I don't remember what he said about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's all very kind of complicated stuff, but ultimately, it really boils down to fixing the mitochondria, where you do that through fasting. He doesn't even say you need to do carnivore. Actually, he doesn't. Right?
Keto. He talks about ketogenic diet, and that's just his big thing is to reduce the sugar, reduce the carbs, right? Because extra carbs turn into sugar. So that's his big thing. If you reduce the sugar, fast. He thinks fasting is very important, and to also make sure that you're doing the exercise, right? So all those are the three elements that he talks about that are really important in fighting cancer.
Did he mention to you what kind of exercise? Because there's like strength training, there's running, you said get your heart rate up. That's probably the most important.
That's basically what he said. Yes.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Fascinating. So I would imagine for people that are trying to not get cancer, let's say you completely reversed it. That would be the same as ketogenic diet or close to it. Prolonged fasting. So not just is it more for like intermittent fasting or prolonged, did he say?
He just talked about fasting. Okay. And I do think when you are going through cancer and going through chemo, it is important to fast. And it is like you say that when you fast, the chemo is only it's only damaging the bad cells, right? Because the good cells aren't looking for food because you're starving them, right? So that's what you want to do. So that's why it's important to do the fasting when you're going through chemo. And it was hard when I first started. It was really hard because I'd never fasted, but the more I did it, the easier it got to fast. And the 3 days were relatively easy to do after a while. And the thing was that when I did it, I could see the results of my CAT scans. Every CAT scan got better and better, so I do believe that works. One of the things, I talk to a lot of people that are going through cancer that have just got diagnosed. And my, big thing to them is, to reduce your sugar as much as you can, whether it's a ketogenic diet, or a regular diet or whatever. Just get rid of the processed foods, get rid of any sugar if you can help it, eliminate it or reduce it as much as you can, and to fast if you can. Some people can't, but if you can't do the full fast, do the intermittent fast. And then the other thing is to do exercise, whether you're walking, I've always done a high level of exercise. So for me, it was just getting back to normal. But some people don't do as much as I do. So for them, you'd have to do what's ever comfortable for you and start, just start somewhere. When I first had surgery, it was just walking around the block for the first couple of weeks till I got my strength back, right? And then I also, made sure the doctors were okay with what, can I pick it up? And once they gave me the go-ahead, there was no stopping me.
Yeah.
I was going to push it as far as I could.
Yeah, you really, it sounds like you're kind of one of those hustlers out there who goes and gets it regardless of what your body's telling you.
Yep. I just wanted it gone.
Yeah. Fair, right? Like, of course you would. I think, how far apart, were those CAT scans when you were going and getting those
every
done?
3 months.
Okay. So you would just crush it basically at this for every 3 months. Did you ever fall off and eat a bunch of sugar and mess up, or were you pretty darn consistent?
No, I was pretty consistent. And I think it's because each CAT scan, I thought, okay, this was the one. This was the one. And then I'd be kind of disappointed because I'd be like, okay, so did I, my CAT scan was like game day. How well did I do? And, and so when I got the results and I hadn't been cancer free yet, I was like, oh, darn, I got to go, I got to take it up a notch. So that was my thing. I just wanted it, I wanted it gone. So when it finally was gone, I was like, yes, I finally did it.
Well, so how did you have somebody who had done this before and you were going forward because they told you, or how did you have this feeling, this knowledge, maybe that you would get rid of it with doing this? Or did you were just seeing the results and it kept motivating you?
Yeah, just, it was more me being determined to do it. A lot of people said I couldn't. They said, you've got stage 4. I don't know how you think you can beat this. And I'm like, oh yeah, I'm beating this. And it was one of those things that now, there's people out there that you can reach out to. And a lot of people reach out to me, that have just been diagnosed or that has stage 4. And, I will always be there for them and support them. And when I had stage 4, that's what I did. I went on the internet trying to find someone who had stage 4, had it in as many organs as I did, and did they survive? Because I wanted to see that I could survive. I couldn't find anybody, but I did look to see, and it just gives you hope and gives you motivation, right? So my thing was, I didn't want to die. And I will do whatever. And that's where my naturopath and my oncologist, that's where I said to them, I don't want to die. I will do whatever you tell me to do so I can live.
Right. And it's fascinating to hear this because it's almost like your mindset was right. You figured out how to dial in the food. You dialed in the movement, where I think a lot of people end up just being sedentary. And you dialed in dare I say fasting, the whole not eating part of this. So you did like all 4 of those things. And, I think the belief part of it too, the placebo effect is so real, where I can't believe people would tell you, how do you think you could do this? Like, how dare somebody say that to anybody that's struggling with some kind of illness? That, hey, how do you think you can do this? But you maintained your positive. I don't even want to say positive mindset. You really just had a conviction about you.
Yeah, I think that was more it, that I wasn't going to die. Yeah, and I was more motivated. And I think because each CAT scan got better, that it was like, okay, it's going to be the next one. The next one's going to be the one, and I think that's what my motivation was, is that I just knew that finally, and when I finally did get that one, and the doctors are really reluctant to tell you you're cancer free. And when he told me, I said, so like, I am cancer free? And he said, yes, you are. And I said, okay, that's all I needed to hear.
Wow. Wow.
Which it's great, and that's where I want to pay it forward. And I've had a second chance at life. So that's where, for me, it's so important to be there to support others who reach out to me, because I want to help them to be successful like I was, right? Whatever I can do to help them and support them.
Well, I think that's a good way to go next into this. Is I agree. I mean, the reason I wanted to have you on is because you did something incredible, A, and B, like, I think sometimes we don't know what's possible until we see it, or we hear it, cause like sometimes the idea is to believe in the invisible, but that's hard to do sometimes. Mm-hmm. Like you did that. You believed in something that wasn't really real, wasn't seeming like it was possible, despite every input telling you otherwise, that you couldn't do it. You still did it. So you have a very powerful mind. I think for other people, who probably do have a powerful mind, it could help them to see this though, and also we live in this system where so much of what we are like told has very little to do with our nutrition, with our mindset, with just things that are kind of God given to us, the ability to move the body, to not eat, to pick natural foods, right? Like we're over engineering things in a sense. So, and you did use chemo with this. I'm not saying chemo is not helpful. But there's more to it, that I think people should know about. So yeah, I just really appreciate your story. And I'd love to be able to direct people to you if you're comfortable with that, where they can speak with you. And, if somebody has somebody going through cancer or they're just diagnosed or stage 4, even like where do they find you, Ronnie, so they can ask you some questions or meet?
Well, I do have a book. So this is my book.
Amazing. Racing for a Miracle. Yeah, I haven't actually had a chance to read that yet, but I know Carrie loved that book. He told me about it quite a few times. Loved it. I've got to read it.
So they can reach me, and I do have a website. So they can just reach me there, or some people just email me. And I always respond. I think I've got 40 or 50 people right now that I'm working with that are going through cancer.
Wow. 40 or 50. That's a crazy number.
Yeah.
And now are you helping them with carnivore too? Like in starting there, or cause I know you did carnivore. Now you're a little bit meat based.
Yeah. Well, what I do is I don't tell them what to eat. Cause I know most of them are ketogenic. So what I do is I suggest that they try to eliminate the sugar. And if they can fast, a lot of people, as soon as you say fast, they say, I'm going to lose a lot of weight. And you won't lose a lot of weight, but you have to be comfortable with it. So I always ask them, if you can fast, then fast. And if you can do exercise, whether, you don't have to take it to my level. If walking around the block, then just walk around the block, like do something. Just don't be sedentary. I think that's really important, because when you are like that, then you think too much. You think more about being sick and cancer and not making it. That's where if you try to, do things, get out there and try to go back to your normal life if you can, then put some normalcy back into it, then you have a tendency to forget that you're going through cancer. Like I used to forget, like I just go, to go to the gym and do whatever. And then I'm like, oh yeah, Tuesday, I got to go get my blood work. And then next week is chemo week, so that's all part of it. Just to, until you get past that. But yeah,
that's so huge. I just want to touch on that. That's huge actually, because I think people that are sick, they may stay sick because they think about being sick all the time. And it's actually an art of ignoring it or forgetting about it. I believe a lot in frequencies, and the way that we think is a frequency, right? And so if you're constantly thinking about being sick and how sick you are and all that, you're gonna stay sick. Yeah. But it's like finding other things, like being happy, distracting yourself, basically. Yeah. To unlock another element of consciousness that we don't fully understand yet, but clearly it does exist. And I think yeah, that's a really good point. Cool. Well, I am so glad to have you on, Ronnie. I'm going to put your links below, and I'm going to make sure that people can find you there. And I'm going to attach a link to your book, your website, and then people can find your email on the website as well.
Yes, that, like I said, if anybody's out there, that's what I do. I'm paying it forward because I've got a second chance, and I want to support and help as many people as I can out there that are going through this, because I know what it's like.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's probably quite lonely too. So hopefully anybody who's watching this doesn't feel that way anymore after seeing what you've done, Ronnie. So I really appreciate you coming on, and thanks for your time.
And thank you. Thank you for doing this. This is awesome.
All righty. We are good to go. Yeah. Right.